still with the lag. I've grown to like the lag recently, um, even though you guys get, 30 seconds perhaps? 20 to 30 seconds of me scowling and then smiling grimly, and then I start to talk. Okay, well, hello. Um, it's a it's like a theme song, you know. It's like one of those old '70s theme songs where they have to explain the entire plot of the show in the theme song. So in case you're tuning into the Brady Bunch for the first time in like season 4, you'll know what's going on because you've heard the theme song explain everything, or the Beverly Hillbillies. I don't know when we lost sight of that. It'd be great to do for, you know, The Wire or White Lotus or something like that, or Game of Thrones. Imagine like if during bum bum ba ba dum bum ba ba bum bum, it would like first there were some kings in King's Landing, then there was a king of the north, and they had to build a wall, and like there'd be no time left for the episode. It would be it would be a full hour long. And then there's Tyrion, and he's uh, trying to do this. It would just go on and on and on. And anyway, that's what I propose with this National Arts Foundation grant. Hello. Um, I don't really propose that. Uh, Sorry to miss last week. Some things were a little bit bananas, and I got my bananas all turned around. But now I've recollected my bananas. Hi, Sherry. Yeah, so this week I was really happy with this week's show. It was with Jackie Kashian, and I wrote the intro really really quickly, and didn't edit it much once I had written it because I, I realized it was sort of a thesis statement for everything I feel about therapy and about dealing with the past. Um, because I'd already interviewed Jackie, and that's kind of what she did. And I thought, I know I always say everybody should try a lot of different things, and see what works for you. But I think everybody needs to try dealing with their past. Everybody needs to try to understand what happened in their childhood, even if your childhood was super smooth and great. Um, it still shapes who you are, and I think we have this idea that we were these different people when we were kids, and then we're adults, and then we're not those people anymore, but it's the same people. And we evolve, but we have still been formed. So Jackie was great. She's find her on the internet and watch some of her stuff. It's really wonderful. um, and and I liked, it's always bracing to me when people bring up physical abuse, because that's not something I have a lot of experience in, any direct experience. Um, but people who have worked through those issues is really, uh, it's such a grounded conversation, and there's a lot of healthy defiance in hearing people who've been through something like that talk about it in a healthy way. So that was Jackie. Jackie often tours, as I point out in this week's newsletter, with Maria Bamford. Jackie often opens for Maria. Maria is going to be my guest on Wits, happening on October 1st at the Fitzgerald Theater in St. Paul. This Wits was a comedy variety show that I used to do as an employee of my former employer. This new version of it, this new production of it, this future of it, has nothing to do with that company, other than that's where it originated. They're not involved in the production or the creation of it at all. And they don't even own the theater like they used to. They used to own the Fitzgerald Theater, but then in a post Garrison Keillor world, they sold it to First Avenue, which is the big music venue in the Twin Cities. First Avenue, the club, is where Prince filmed Purple Rain. So me hosting a show at a theater owned by that organization that owns that club sort of makes me the next Prince when you think about it. When you don't think about it very much, when I try to slide it by you. Um, So, so that's coming up. We have a musical guest, but I can't announce who it is yet. But they are really sensational, and they were suggested for the show on Twitter, and then they stepped up and said, "Yeah, I'll do the show. That sounds great," and they will be here. So come see that. We are going to tape it. We're exploring some podcast distribution options, which look pretty promising. But it's kind of a weird thing to podcast because we're looking at doing maybe 4 of them per year going forward. Did I tell you Wits has a future? It does. So you here on the debrief get to know that. Or you watching the debrief later, which I think happens more often. So I put out something because I've been writing a little bit, kicking around some book ideas with some friends about weird solutions to depression, weird ways to address one's depression. So if you're on the Preshies site on Facebook, the Preshies group, there are some there's a big long thread. It's probably getting up around 100 now of people's ideas, and I just wanted to read a few of my favorites, a few that kind of jumped out at me. Janet says she listens to Mozart's Requiem. I blast it and try to sing along badly. It's in Latin. No clue why this works. This is what I was really looking for, is the people who come up with things that work and they don't know why they work. I think that's all in the spirit of just throwing mountains of pasta against enormous walls and seeing what sticks. Sarah says, hold on, this is a weird one. I have a huge backyard, so big it puts some dog parks to shame in the Minneapolis-St. Paul area. I find it calming to pick up dog shit. I feel like a dog shit ranger with my fancy shit rake and holder. There's even a matching mini trash can. My dogs watch me the whole time. It's the least I could do for them in exchange for their love. And then Angie, a new member, says, grew up in the country, and one of the most therapeutic things is scooping poop. So I think we're onto something. We have a plurality of people mentioning this idea. So get a dog and clean up after it, and depression goes away. Claire says, oddly, what helps me is watching very dark crime shows, murders, serial killer stuff. I guess it helps for me to escape into some horror that is completely out of my life. Same with my reading material. I'm a huge fan of Nordic noir and similar genres of crime novels. For some reason, I find the depressed, messed up alcoholic detective to be a soothing character. And then finally, Kyler says, when I really need to clear my headspace, I go to Walmart, Target, grocery store by myself and just wander. I've actually set a boundary with roommates that Walmart time is me time, and unless I ask if they want to go, I probably don't. It's physical activity, albeit very light, and distractions aplenty to calm a racing mind. Thanks, Kyler. Sometimes I wonder, the name Kyler is fairly new, I think, and or at least fairly new to wide usage. And I wonder if it's just somebody who is Kyle, but even more so. You're Kyle, huh? Guess what? I'm Kyler. Until Kylist comes along, then I guess I got to give Kyler the early lead when it comes to that. On Monday, we have a show coming up with, speaking of Preshies, with a bunch of contributions from Preshies, from people from that Facebook group. It's the TV and Movies That Get It Right episode, and that's with Linda Holmes from Pop Culture Happy Hour and Travell Anderson from Fantai on the Maximum Fun Network. Check out Fantai if you haven't. It's it's a great show, great people hosting it, but a really interesting idea, which is all about the things we love and then how we deal with the not so great qualities about the things we love. So they talk about their love of gospel music, but then they talk about the homophobia and transphobia endemic to the gospel music community. And it's sort of about how to like things in the new world, I guess. Got some great interviews coming up. Janet Varney, who, if you want to have a good time, folks, do you want to have a good time? Paul Schaefer, do you want to have a good time? Check out Stan Against Evil on Hulu. I think it's on Hulu now. It's a show created by Dana Gould about the various hauntings in Salem, Massachusetts around the witch burnings and the witch community there in general, and a lot of paranormal stuff, and Janet plays the put upon cop. She's really delightful in that. And we have Tom Sharpling from The Best Show, and we talked with him for a while yesterday. He's got a really cool new memoir out called "It Never Ends," and he opens up for the first time about his time as an inpatient in an inpatient facility and electroconvulsive therapy, which he's never opened up about before. And so we talked about that and about why he chose to share it. So that was pretty cool. And yeah, so a lot of great shows coming up. The sex episode, of course, is coming next month. That's going to be really great. That's another one that emerged from Preshies. I may be, am I petty? Am I a little Tom Petty about this whole issue? The Preshies group is about 100 members short of where the Thwadballs group was, the Facebook group, the closed Facebook group for my former show, The Hilarious World of Depression, sponsored by my former employer. I always say my former employer. For some reason, I just don't like to say the name anymore, which is a tricky thing when you live in the Twin Cities and people know where you used to work. But full speed ahead on Papa Chick, though. What's Papa Chick? Well, I'm glad you asked. So if you listen to the podcast, the Depresh Mode with John Moe podcast, you hear me at the very end say, Depresh Mode is a production of Maximum Fun and Papa Chick. So Papa Chick is an entity, an LLC, a limited liability company that I formed mostly for tax and payroll purposes to pay myself. I am the sole employee of Papa Chick, but I'm working on building it out as an entity unto itself. And so it's right now it is an organization that does a podcast, it gives speeches, it writes books. So that is all happening through Papa Chick, but I'm looking to expand out to do some more podcasts. So I'm talking with some groups, a lot of nonprofit groups, but not all nonprofit groups, about creating podcasts for their organizations. So if you run a major organization, give me a holler. But it's just an interesting thing that I want to mention anyway because of what's happening in podcasting. So it is a higher rate of growth than streaming movies and video. It's a higher rate of growth than the internet. It's a higher rate of growth than cars. It's 10% year over year, and it's incredible growth. And then it's in 3 years. So 3 years ago, 26% of adult Americans subscribed to a podcast and listened at least once a month. And now that's 41% of adult Americans. So that was a growth of 16% over 3 years. It's just exploding. And now every car that rolls off the line has a little USB port in it and Bluetooth. And, you can do it with the aux cord or you can do it with Bluetooth. And I wouldn't want to be investing a lot of money in terrestrial radio right now. I just think there's something huge happening. And so Papa Chick is looking to expand and maybe hire more people. That's a ways down the road. But yeah, so that's kind of cool. Oh, and what is Papa Chick? Why is it called Papa Chick? Why does that sound so much like Papa Shot, like you might find in a bar? Well, a Papa Chick is a friend that you make when they're seated next to you. It's a Russian term. When they're seated next to you during travel. So on a train, on a plane, on a bus, it's the stranger who sits next to you, you strike up a conversation, and you form a sort of deep but very transient, temporary friendship. And then you go your separate ways and you never speak again. And you never hear from them. But for that moment, there's great intimacy and great warmth and connection to another human being. And I think that's what a podcast is supposed to be. So, so next week, Hollywood show, and then Janet Varney coming up, and a bunch of shows. Sex is on its way, don't worry. How often have I gotten a chance to say that sentence? Probably not at all. And yeah, thank you so much for showing up, the fellow traveler. That's right, Elizabeth. Yeah, we will talk to you next week. We, meaning me. I often say we as if this organization fundamentally is. I mean, it's Gabe and I and Laura. We all work on the show, but sometimes when I talk about things coming straight from me, I say we. And why? It's because I am the Queen of England. Bye.